All right. Hello, everyone. This is Anon. None of this is financial advice. This is for entertainment purposes only. So, we need to take a look at a couple things going into today. Let me get everything booted up. Let's see. All right. What's up, Yes? What's up, Lemon Dom? How are you guys? Sorry for the late start. I was doing stuff with my family. And then I had to talk with the wife, and that was good. And I've got a tickle in my throat, so. Alright. Need to set a couple things up. What is going on? So I tried to, we got a, just drink beer, enjoy the summer off, more time to check stocks. Yeah, I mean, oh, you're just drinking beer. I'm like, yeah, I've had a couple beverages the last couple nights. I am not drinking tonight. Oh, my throat is, I don't know. My daughter has been coughing a lot, so I don't know if, I did check for COVID. I don't have COVID, but she's got like a lingering cough right now, and my wife's got a little bit, so now I'm getting it. So we'll see. All right. Need to go turn on everything. Get everything all set up. Okay. Someone in the Discord said that you mentioned something about HSDT. I'm going to be honest, I don't really remember that, but I probably did. People throw tickers at me all day long, so let me see if I can look that up real quick for you. You probably also search the Discord and see what I said, but let's just take a look anyway. HSDT, Helios Medical Technologies. Okay. Oh yeah, I do remember this one. This one has the 36 million warrants that were just registered in August. So I know somebody was talking about this. I think it was actually on Reddit. Somebody on the Short Squeeze forum. Yeah, I commented on the that because I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew, because when the original poster OP had written his DD, he didn't catch the filing. So it was on August 4th that they filed this. And I guess maybe he just didn't see it or didn't know about it, but it's an additional 36 million basically shares of dilution at a strike price of 75 cents. So obviously, he had most of the other stuff right, but that's a critical thing to miss, because obviously when you have that many warrants, it would be hard to squeeze something like that when there's 36 million shares on a stock that only had a pretty small float anyway. So, because they're basically offering more shares than they're outstanding. The current outstanding shares are 28.2 million. I'll show you on Dilution Tracker. This, by the way, is Dilution Tracker for anyone that's new to the channel. Essentially what's happened is we've been working with them for a little bit, and if anyone likes this product, you're able to buy it. There's a link in the Discord underneath. I think it's under like discounts or coupon or something. I'll look it up for you guys. Hold on. It's under discount codes and sponsors. But they do have if you use Retail Collective when you sign up for the code, you get 10% off. So there's my plug for them. But honestly, they do a really good job with this stuff, and I've always been super impressed. So yeah, they're just saying basically your overall risk is high because you have basically these 36.5 million warrants that are available plus an equity line of credit. So, and they do have enough cash, which he was correct about that portion. So, but yeah, these ones were already priced, and then Roth also has these right here, 36 million at 75 cents. So if you go to the chart on that, what will probably happen is they will get pumped on excuse me. Why is this not working? Let me try that again. Okay, there we go. Maybe my battery is on my SDT. Right, so it had been hanging out here for a while, got dropped down, gap down. So there's a gap up here. And where's that gap? You guessed it. Right here at the 80s, right? So what's going to end up happening is this. You've got a pretty sizable gap, actually two gaps that you need to fill. This one technically filled most of that, but there's a gap right here around 79 cents. And the reason why they probably did that was because they knew that they were going to eventually push this thing up for those warrants. Now, the reason why a lot of times people do this is because the goal is this. So you're basically having to exercise a bunch of things. So what you need to do is create some buzz around the stock, right? So what they like to do is go onto Reddit and some other chat forums and be like, oh, look at this bull case. And, they basically get retail to FOMO into the stocks like this while they're literally selling their shares out. Because you need to create the momentum up so when they start diluting, it slowly fades down and you've gotten your shares out. When you have 36 million of them, obviously that's a good amount. So, you would probably need to run it probably up to about $1 or something to start, doing that. And then you can pump it a couple times and then you get your shares out. So, I do think you're going to see, for example, some volume come back to the stock. And what will end up happening is, anyone that's played this and was buying up here, you should have known this gap is going to fill at some point. So my guess would be this is when they initially got some people in there, right? Now they've got it down here, and now they're going to start basically pushing the stock up slowly over the next couple of weeks once those warrants are getting priced in. And then at that point, once they get back up here, they'll probably go ahead and the one somethings, they'll start unloading those warrants. So there you go. That's HSDT. My guess would be you could see a run, though, from what are we at now? 51 cents. You could see a run to that to $1, maybe $1.25. But they're definitely going to fill at least minimum to 80. So, you can gain 30 cents a share on this pretty safely because it looks like that's what they're going to do. The underwriters are going to pump this to basically unlock their warrants. So there you go. I missed the beginning. When is the date of the warrants? I think they're active now. Yeah, they're registered. So they're ready to go right now. So literally, once the stock gets above 75 cents, they can dilute. And this happened in August 4th. Yeah, August 4th. There. So that's that stock. I know somebody wrote it on short squeeze, but you can get a small run out of it, but you're not going to get a major squeeze out of it. So just throwing it out there for you. Or at least I don't think. Obviously none of this is financial advice, but in my opinion, it looks like with 36 million warrants out there, and on a stock that only has 28 million, that's more than the entire float. So Yeah, don't worry about share prices. Those things are, they probably had like 3 shares or something like stupid like that. I don't know. We'd have to look into the history of it. I'm not really looking to do that. There's plenty of cover anyway. So, okay. So the next one you guys brought up was APRN. Okay. So I did notice that they'd move up the FinTel stuff. I am still not on this one. I think we covered this before, but let me pull it up real quick. Yeah, I've definitely looked it up before. And I think what we established was there were some warrants that were at like 15. Yeah, the warrants are at 15. So you could see them push up and try to unlock those. So that would be a nice run right there if they got those. The underwriter is... I don't see an underwriter, but it looks like RJP Partners owns those warrants. So, I mean, they could possibly be looking to, like, squeeze it up and go in there. Institutional ownership is... I mean, there's a couple names in there. Like, there's a Vanguard that has, like, 2%. And it looks like BlackRock owns less than 1%. Some of these Wolf Hill Capital, I'm not familiar with them. But it did look like they sold off about 1 million shares. Let's see. How did they do on their balance sheet? Let's take a look. I know, seriously. Might have to drink that whiskey anyway. Sorry, scotch. There. Pull out the bottle. See if this helps. Scotchy, scotch. All right. And on See the Muffin Man. Anyone that's not in the know, the other night I had a couple cocktails in here, and they somehow got me talking about the Muffin Man. And every time I said it, everyone had a drink. I don't think it's going to be that night, but, you know, I'm just mainly coating my throat to try to sound silky smooth for you guys. Okay. Let's see if that keeps me from coughing a little bit. Okay. Someone tell us why BBBY betrayed us today. It didn't. Okay. Yeah, that I will look at this first, but then we'll spend a whole bunch of time on BBBY. And I don't think they betrayed us unless I missed something in the last couple, you know. Like, I already saw the Ryan Cohen thing. Like, you guys, you have to understand, like, Ryan Cohen has literally 3 months left. Like, they have 3 months until his options expire. So, of course, he's going to register those things to sell. Like, he's like, yeah, exactly. I said it was going to go up and they were going to hammer it down. And that's exactly what they did. And then at the very end of the day, they knew that the 144 was going to go ahead and be, yeah, they'll fill the gap tomorrow morning when it opens. So that gap will easily fill. In fact, they may actually have left a gap down now, which needs to fill the other way. So, yeah, he would be an idiot if he didn't file that form, because then he would be stuck with those options and they would go out of the money. So, of course, he needed to file that. Like, so I don't think people need to, like, freak out. But they used that news to basically try to act like, you know, he was going to sell his entire position, which is messed up. That's actually, you can be accused of market manipulation for stuff like that. So, okay. So, yeah, like, total assets went down slightly. Cash has gone down. Liabilities went up. Accounts payable went up. Slight increase in total liabilities. Shareholder equity slightly lower. I mean, yeah, it's not like a strong stock, but I mean, it's one that's been shorted, I'm sure, all to hell. So let's take a look at this thing, because that's what's happening. Is all these stocks are basically just getting like, excuse me, all these meme stocks are finally coming to a like spot where like I don't know if the shorts are just they've doubled down, and now they're taking profits, or in some cases did they double down and now they're in trouble on some of these things, and now they're losing money as they couldn't hold or get retail to sell. So, but yeah, I'm not worried about. I know everyone's freaked out about BBBY, but I'm not really that freaked out by it. Like I knew they were going to do it, so to me, I was just waiting for the. This is what these guys do. Like, I was like, this thing's just sit. Like I bought some I bought long day like some November puts at the gap fill, which was 20. And I also bought some daily calls in case it ran the other way. Yes, I'm in BBBY. Yeah, and I'll talk at length at that because I have been in that for a while. So I actually bought BBBY at the head fake. Okay, so with just throwing out there is some warrants up at 15 for APRN. To me, let me just look at the options chain so I don't give you guys bunk information. All right, let's see if that helps out. I had something plugged in, and I don't think it needs to be plugged in. So hopefully that will make this a little bit better. I bought like this thing that I could draw on, but I realized that I can't hook it up to this particular monitor, so I needed to put it on another monitor. I have like 3 monitors at my desk, and it doesn't hook to the right one. But I was going to do it so I could draw on like graphs and charts and just kind of show you guys stuff. But we'll see how it goes. We're not doing it tonight. I have to get it set up ahead of time. I was trying to just go for it, but all right. So I am pulling up now the options chains on APRN so we can take a look at why it's doing what it's doing. And then that way you guys can make educated decisions. And let me do it also for Fintel. Why did it say create account? I'm signed in. It's weird. Okay. All right, APRN. All right, so they have their sill wall up. They've had a nice run so far. Insiders have actually bought a ton of shares. Look at that. No, that can't be right. That can't be right. 50 million? Oh, transaction value. Okay, so he bought 16.72 million shares. Okay. Main shareholder. Who is that? Is he just a random rich guy that bought this company's a bunch of shares? Interesting. Yeah, look at that. So, yeah, that's a lot of money that someone bought and became an insider. So, did they have information privy? That's a pretty bullish thing to buy that much stock. Okay, so when he did that, he probably shook the boat a bit. Now, it looks like they have covered some, because obviously it was at like 5 million share shorted, and now it's even on the exchange reported stuff, it's down to looks like August 9th. So yeah. So I mean, as of the last filing, it was 4.12. they're saying it's now 3, which would make sense considering how much it's moved already, but that's a large amount if somebody bought in. But because of that, I'm sure they locked up the float. Like, okay, so we saw that. Let's take a look then at Fintel real quick and see if we can see why it's. I'm sure it has to do with the options chains. Okay, so they're saying on the gamma squeeze it moved all the way up. So let's take a look. So they're saying 4.1 million for short interest. So Ortex has a different number. Let's take a look real quick. So short squeeze score moved up to 6, number 1 on the gamma squeeze score. They've been using most of the shares they can get their hands on. The cost of borrows been fluctuating around 25%. They've been really kind of hammering it down the last couple days. Look at that, 71%. Oof, that was on a low volume day. It's probably before it ran. And then, yeah, you can see some of the short aggregate, which is like all this stuff combined. Okay. So that looks fine. My guess would be they're thinking this thing's going to run because did they get a signal on Vortex? Is there a... Yeah, August 17th. They just gave a signal today. Yeah, today's August 17th. So they gave a buy signal today. So yeah, that, I mean, it looks like it can move. Let's just take a look at the options real quick. Can you do it on here? I've never done it on here. You have to fill out... Okay, I don't want to fill out any forms. Let me just go to... They have it on here. Options. Okay, so a ton of call options with open interest are there for the next, mainly looks like August and also January have the highest amounts. And then if you look, here's, I guess this is by the date. That's handy to actually have. So you can see how much the call the call open interest has gone up. So this is call open interest and call OI out of the money. I'm guessing then this is in the money, or that might just be total. Yeah, I mean, like this stock is the number 1 gamma squeeze, and it's only got 25% cost to borrow. So I'm sure it will go up as they start really needing shares. Okay. I'm going to do it on mine because I prefer the way I'm used to looking at it, which is on TD. So let me just do that because I feel comfortable with that at least. All right. Pull up. APRN. All right. We'll do all. So here is, looks like Fridays. And they have, I'll do the next 2 because they're not that big. So let me do, oh, hold on. I should get December's in there too. All right. And let me open it. All right, so this one is Fridays. So let's zoom in a little bit. So right now, all of this open interest, not all of it, let's say 70% of this, that's the assumption we're going with. Some people have written covered calls, I'm sure, so we can't assume all this is bullish. But let's just assume 70% of it is, because most retail knows how to do naked calls, meaning that they only buy one leg, they don't hedge it against anything, so they're just going calls. That's one of the more simple option trades to do, and that's why retail, that's at least they know how that works for the most part. Okay. So there's obviously a good amount of added open interest above these ones, and we'll see. To me, if I were a market maker, I'd be really desperately trying to keep this thing under 5. That way you burn a good amount of this, but we'll see how much oomph they have. The only thing I can tell you is, as you see this number growing down here, and you notice they're much cheaper, right, compared to like the calls. So whenever this gets lopsided, what you'll notice is they always make the puts cheaper because they want to slide the price, down. And what they'll do is they'll start buying more of these in the money ones and start pushing it down, and then it creates basically like a reverse gamma ramp, because they have to start hedging these ones as they go in the money too. Now, they may have paid a fraction of what these guys were paying over here, but it helps them slide this down. So just wanted to point that out. So, but yeah, I can see there's a good amount of open interest, not like amazing, but these are like pretty decent numbers for this stock, it looks like, just looking at some of the historical stuff that I saw. And then they, in addition to that, they also have, this is 30 days from now, they have a bunch of OI building up. In fact, they're already stacking, it looks like this, higher range. They're also doing a good amount that are $3 calls that are in the money. And you can see down the line, they also have a large amount in January as well. So, yeah, this has potential. That's what I can see, because the warrants are until like 11. I think it was 11. Yeah, I think it was 11. So, yeah, I can see why people like the stock. For me, though, I would just keep an eye out and make sure that there's no like large gaps. But, clearly somebody put their money where their mouth is and put a ton of money in, and now as an insider. So, all right. Now, BBBY. Everyone wants to know what's going on with that thing today, because obviously it took an ugly turn at the end of the day, and everyone's like, oh my God, like what happened? Okay. Number one, let's take a look kind of zoomed out again. Right? All right, so you have, I heard my UPS click over. Hold on a second. Am I going to lose you guys? You guys can still hear me, right? Yeah, okay. So my UPS turned on for some reason, so, okay, good. Just want to make sure we can still hear me. All right, so here's the deal, right? So there was a gap, right? So it opened up here and then came down and got pushed down by the end of the day, right? But there was a gap that needed to get filled because we closed at like 2070, and then we opened at like 20, what was it, 26, 20, it was something like that. We opened at like 26, ran up, and then got pushed down, right? So here's the deal. We never closed that gap that we left from the daily. Where is the chart for this? Let's pull it up. Okay. Right. So basically what we were looking to do was we needed to cover the gap that went from basically here to here. Technically, we went all the way up here in the morning, pushed up, then came back down, right? So what you're looking to fill is this gap right here. So I actually bought puts this morning up here for down here. because I knew at some point that they were probably going to hit. So to hedge my position also, because I'm long this because I got faked out, and I'm not ashamed to admit that. I thought this right here, I think it is, yeah, I think it was, no, maybe it was this one. It was this one up here, because my average at the time was like, I think 7 something when I bought in. So I thought this was the bottom, right? So I thought this was the bottom, and I bought in at like 740, and then it gapped down, and then I was like, okay, well, it's probably going to gap up. So I bought some shares down here, right? And then I left it alone, because then like we went back down here, and I was like, I sold actually some of my options right before it took off, because at the time they were just bleeding, and I was down pretty significantly, because I basically they were down half, because I bought basically almost at $8, and then it was down here in the 4, like it dipped into the 4s, and I'm like, all right, well, maybe I was not correct on this one. And then like literally the next couple of days it shot up, and I'm like, okay, so I was able to buy some like options before it really kind of skyrocketed again. But I've held a good amount of shares. I think I have like 1,200 shares, something like that, that are all around like $8 a share. So, and obviously I can't, if I buy more shares, I'm going to average up pretty significantly. So I have been slowly doing that, but most of the stuff I've been playing is options. So let me go through then and kind of show you guys. So we've now gapped down below. So we're down here now, right? We're down the 18 area, and I'm sure in the morning it might even dip down into the 17s, 15s. That's what they're going to try to do. Now they're going to leave the gap up here then. So what's going to happen is there's going to be a gap up here at 22. But their whole goal right now is to just scare the crap out of retail into selling. Like, that's their honest truth. Like, they need your shares, and they want them yesterday. The reason why is because, honestly, they sold too many of these things, right? And look, they even gave you a sell signal on Ortex. Like, everything's lining up. Everything's doom and gloom. I get that. From like a technical standpoint, it's obviously that's almost an engulfing. Like, it's, it's not, obviously, because that run we had the other day was insane when it went from like 16 to like 27. But like it took a good chunk of this, and tomorrow I'm sure they're going to try to push down. But I think what's going to end up happening is this: the longer this goes on, the more this is going to get really uncomfortable for those who are short. And the reason why I say that is, number one, there's no dilution on the way to save them. Unless they register something, the company registers something in the next day or two. And if that happens, I have alert set right now for any new filings that come out on the stock. So I'm hoping that we'll get that information very quickly, and then what we can do is we can keep our eye on it. But at this point right now, these guys, I'm going to put together, in fact, we may do it right now. So I started a Google Sheet. I think I was doing it yesterday for you guys. And let me go to it real quick. But I made a tab that was kind of tracking the float. And I'll bring it over for you. So, here are your Class A shares. Here was what Fintel had for insider ownership. That would leave you a float of 64 million, right? Fintel said that institutional ownership was 71 million. That would be more than the actual like float. So that would give you like 500%, short interest of the free float. If we have really 36 million shares shorted. In fact, we can take a look and see what it is today. So what did they say? Ortex thinks it is 37.36 now. So 37.36. There we go. Right. So that's almost 50% of the short, or the float is shorted. They're going to attack this thing. So don't FOMO. Once again, this is not financial advice. One should not FOMO. Let me rephrase this. One A trader should not FOMO when they see big green candles. Like, there are always pullbacks. You want to try to buy when it makes sense for yourself. So, let's kind of just cover this. So, if this is true, which I think this number is probably too high, but this is what Fintel literally has, and I'll show you right now just to show you I'm not making up numbers and just putting them on the spreadsheet. So Fintel, as of yesterday, I'm scrolling up to get to the top so I can search. Okay. BBBY. All right. So these guys, if you go to owners, go to institutional ownership, they listed out 71 million shares long, right? Which is basically 90% of the free float. Sorry, of the shares outstanding, not even the free float. Like, if we go for the free float, which is what these guys have, if you go to this right here, they have the free float calculated as 69 million, right? So they've got 69 million. I think I came up with 64 million. But we'll see who's right on the insider ownership. But roughly, we'll throw this up here and use Ortex's number. We'll put Ortex over here. Ortex numbers. So I saw that they had shares outstanding, 7967. That's what we have here, right? So we're going to just do that. For our insider shares, I guess we could do the reverse on that, which is we could take this number here, the 6945. So let's try doing this. 694500. Let's just try that. Oops. Get that in the right format. Where is it? Probably had too many zeros. Let's see. Other way. Okay. So that would mean minus the insiders have only 10.2 million if we go off Ortex numbers. But if we keep going with Ortex numbers, we got to do it all the way across. So we have good representation of what they're seeing. So they say that we have 3736, right? So 3736. Oops, one more zero. Sorry. Okay, so 3736, which means that if you take, I guess, where is it? Here we go. Equals. I mean, you're saying that the short interest is 3736, so 37.36 million. But you only have, okay, but you have a float of this, right? So let's do that. That would be about 52% roughly, right? So that divided by that, yeah, 53%. So that's what Ortex is reporting, which is pretty close to what we were getting. These are Fintel. We'll say Fintel. The only difference, though, is this. For insider ownership, they're not giving us a flat number like Fintel did. Fintel did. So what you have to do then is take all these different filings of the beneficial owners. I don't think they do, unless somebody knows something I don't think they have an export function, which would be really nice if they did. I think you have to go through and just manually calculate all these up. That's a pain in the butt. It's a big pain in the butt. All right. Let's see. I guess we could technically do it this way. This is a pain. All right. 15.51. I should do it probably this way. 1, 2, 3. 7, 9, 3, 0, 1, 2, 3. 7, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3. Oops, one more. 7, 7, 8. Come on. My mouse has been so weird. I'm just doing this right now. Okay, so 4, 9, 0, 1, 2, 3. Oh, sorry. Yeah, my bad. 12, 5, 1, 0, 1, 2, 3. There we go. I grabbed the percentage of shares instead of, yeah. Yeah, I got it. I was putting the percentage of shares, not the shares held. All right, the other ones are right. This is a pain in the butt. Ortex needs to get their stuff together and be able to let me just import this into a file, right? I need to just get an Excel and be able to suck it in. It's a pain. BBBY double topped. Your calls are effed. My puts are looking juicy. Oh, there you go. Oh, I have puts too. I got both. I put puts this morning. Yeah. Just a hedge. So I'm fine. I also got shares, and I've got all my calls. The latest one I have, or sorry, the earliest one I have is November. So I've got plenty of data to see what plays out in the future. But if you are playing this to the downside, go for it. I'm going to show people, though, that there is obviously more than meets the eye on this. So I just want to point that out because I think there's a lot of... Let's do this too as well. Let's get all these over at the same column. Where is it? Okay, that works. Oh, that wasn't for you. I got love for you. All right, thanks. Appreciate it. All right, so 913140. Oops. Oops. Too many. There we go. God, this is painful. Why are we doing this? Such a pain in the butt. All right, where are we at? I put 1. instead of 7. Give me a second. Okay, 6. I know. I'm sorry. This is not obviously a compelling YouTube content, but we do need to find out what's going on here. So I just want to, let's get it together. I mean, what are we at now? 21, 7, 3, 5. Oh, what did I do? Apparently added 1,000 extra rows or something. They're all red. Hold on. I don't want my task. Man, this mouse is... Why is it all red? All right. We're lucky Muffin Man. Yeah, seriously. Where are my quants? Where are my quants? Where are all the guys who were like, yeah, I want to crunch numbers all day. I got time for this. I want to talk about the stuff. I don't want to crunch all the numbers manually myself. Really, Ortex is to blame here, because Ortex should have a function where you can just export the stuff out. So I have everything I can just, access it at once. And don't have to do this absolutely ridiculous asinine task of inputting every single... Oops. Why do these guys all have so many, 300K positions? Just... It's all these small firms. All right. 349, got that one. 348. 348, 090. All right. 239. All right. I mean, I want to be accurate, so I'm going to keep going, but this is really a pain. And I'm sure we're probably losing a bunch of people watching me slowly input Ortex numbers that I can't export for some reason. All right. Where was I? 161, then 156. Hello, Becca. We're talking about me needing an intern to crunch all these numbers for me so I don't have to sit here manually and type in every single one. One, 15, 2. All right. Getting there. We're getting down to the 100Ks. I'm not doing anything under 100K. All right. I know we want to be accurate, but like once we get to 100K, I'm stopping because this is getting really repetitive and boring. And like if I was at work doing this, it'd be fine, but like I'm not. So I have more things to talk about than. All right. All right. So we're going to take this number and grab up here. And that gives us a sum of 63 million. Okay. So at least we have that. Right? So it gives us a sum of 63 million 600. Can I copy that? As soon as I do this, it's going to leave. Here. You know what? Here's what we got. We're good. All right, there we go. So that way, when I put it in here, we're going to say the Ortex numbers show institutional ownership at 63. So I don't know who's right. Ortex or Fintel, they have different numbers, obviously. Let's see. Either way you slice it, so here's the deal, right? So the free float, technically, if this is correct, and they do have... Now, these shares are available to be basically, right, like... See, I don't know where they're getting this, because they're saying the float is this, and the institutional ownership is this. So where are those extra, roughly, 5 million shares? Because they have it listed as 64 million, which is probably more accurate if they had 71. So, but they also are missing about 5 million out of insider ownership then. So the numbers may be even more skewed than you think, depending on how you're looking at it. So, I mean, I'm leaning towards Fintel being more correct because, I mean, we could go through every single insider filing, and then maybe we have to do that to get the most accurate information. But, I mean, if insiders own an additional 5 million shares, because that's what's basically missing from here, right? To get the free float that they're calculating, like, here we go. Let's see. So in this case, though, if you took out... Yeah, so here, I'll do it this way. So take that number, right, minus this number. And that would give you your free float. If you were to not count, like, these are long institutions, but we don't know they're actually long. They may be selling their positions, they may be short term, we can't determine that. But if you just took out basically the institutions on ownership, there would be about 6 million shares after all the institutions are accounted for. So what we're looking at here is there's not a ton of shares for retail. Now, let's just play a stupid mind game, right? So this is my stupid little mind game. Let's pretend that we know what we're talking about and that BBBY is everywhere and all these people are excited about it, right? Yeah, Jake, so the free float's not the free float technically on the stock is 69 million or 64 million, depending on if you want to go off Ortex numbers or Fintel numbers. This is the actual float, right? Because the float is basically your shares outstanding minus insider shares. They're saying that there's 15 million. They're only saying there's 10 million. So this would be the difference then is the actual float. So these are the shares that are available to the general public, right? Okay, so you only have either 64.5 million or you have 69.45 million, right? Either way, it's a difference of like 5 million shares. So the question is, if you think about this logically and you say, okay, Wall Street Bets has like 12 million people in it. Let's assume that I don't know, 4 million of them are actual real users, right? I think that's safe. So we have 4 million, right? So I need more zeros. Okay. There you go. 4 million, right? So we have 4 million. Let's just say, I don't know. Let's call them Wall Street Bets users. Right? Okay. And let's do something else. Let's say, for example, what's the average, retail trader, got in their account? There's obviously a wide range on this, but let's just say these things cost at the time when they were buying them between 10 and 15 bucks, right? So let's just say they buy, I don't know, 20 shares. Would that be a safe, conservative number? What do you guys think? Is that safe? We'll call this one shares and then put it balanced to the right. So let's pretend they own 20 shares, right? I don't think this is absurd like numbers. Like this is obviously just being speculation. But let's pretend for a second that if you did this, if you took 4 million random users across the entire world and they all own 20 shares, well, you would have 80 million, which is larger than the... Oops, I'm on the wrong line. Here we go. Which is larger than the entire shares outstanding. What that means is that right now your brokerages are drowning. They don't have the shares. They know they don't have the shares, so they are going to make sure that they try to do everything in their power to make this look as unenticing for you to keep holding on to as possible. Once again, you guys do whatever you want. Like, this is not financial advice. I'm just showing you the numbers on this thing, right? So you have a conservative number of 4 million users across the entire... We'll say users / retail traders, right? Because there's people in other countries buying this as well, right? So let's just call it, worldwide or something like that, right? And this is... I feel like I'm being conservative about this. I'm not being like a total I feel like 20... Maybe this number's too high. Like, maybe you think there might be... I'm just saying on Wall Street Bets, there's 12 million registered quote-unquote users on there. And I feel like 20 shares is a pretty low number. Like, I mean, we can come down and just say 2 million, but I think there's probably closer after you say the entire world and people that are in on this that own probably about 20 shares. I mean, right there. I mean, you can play with this any which way you want. I mean, if you, for example, took, how big is the BBBY subreddit now? Because those are probably very active users, right? All right, so they have 25,000 members. So I just want to see what these numbers shake out to be. So if we say you've also got 25,000 hardcore users, and let's just pretend out of all these retail traders, these guys are the more extreme of the ones. They have a larger position. So let's just say they own 100 shares, right? Wouldn't be that unheard of, Yeah, like 2.5 million, right? So I'm showing you guys how I'm just like trying to calculate this stuff in my brain. Obviously, these numbers would be probably part of this stuff. But my point is, like, if you start averaging this out, who knows how many bots are on Wall Street bets? I mean, who knows? But I'm just saying, for the entire world of retail traders, like at this point, everyone knows what BBBY is doing. So would that many traders put $20 in, or sorry, buy 20 shares? If they were back at like the 10 to 15 range, I mean, I knew people that did. So this is going to be the hard part to kind of calculate it out, right? So the whole point of this is just kind of showing you that, like, this would lock up the entire float again. Now, the difference is this. That's if retail traders can hold through what's going to happen in the next couple days. Because what's going to happen is a massive amount of probably some of these institutions will start unloading their shares. And they will do it because, honestly, let's be like totally transparent and legit. BBBY is in some trouble financially. Like, they are not in a great shape. They did not have a great quarter, so it got pushed down on those earnings and then has sprung back, obviously. But my point is that BBBY, for a lot of these institutions, this is probably the best looking price that they've seen on it in a while, and they may start taking profits. So you have to assume that that's going to happen at some point. And if they do that, they're going to make sure that all your shares that you're buying are going off exchange, which we know they're doing. And then you're being ridiculously generous with 4 million owning 20 shares each, too. You mean I should go down? You think I should lower that? Like, it should be like 2 million? Yeah, so I mean, what I would think is going to happen is this: the institutions are going to probably start selling off at some point, and that will stall the squeeze, and it may already been happening. Yeah, 2 million owning 40. I mean, it's really up to you. I mean, I've got like 1,200 shares. Was it 1,200 or 15? I don't even remember anymore. A million owning 80. But yeah, like, so what's going to probably happen is they're going to try to make this look as awful as possible, because the truth is, even if we put this down and this was 60 million shares, you're basically doubling the float at this point. And that means there's going to be tons of FTDs, and your brokers are going to be crapping bricks because they don't have the shares to give you. And at some point after 13 days, the SEC is going to start coming by and say, hey, listen, guys, it's not really looking great on the public side. Unless you can shake out all the retail, you guys owe a ton of shares that you need to find. And will they make them do that? Who knows? Like, they don't typically make them do anything, but in this case, there's, you know, what are we saying? We're not all rich like you. I'm not that rich, but I did. You have to remember, I didn't buy these shares at 20. I bought these shares when they were $8 a share. So this was like a couple grand to me, and now it's worth obviously like 200% more. But well, not 200 anymore after tonight. We'll see what happens in the morning. But either way, I think that there's a good amount of shares that are not delivering right now to your brokerages. And what they're going to do is they're going to kick the can as long as possible and hope this all blows over, because that's what they do on these squeezes. And they will probably pull some shady stuff just to make sure that, you know, this looks as terrible as possible, because the truth is, even if this number is like 30 million, whatever, there's also 37 million shares short. So like rehypothecation, this stuff gets really messy real quick. If they can't shake retail out, it's going to be an issue. Like straight up, it's going to be an issue. Because these numbers, you know, like really it boils down to these numbers, because these are the shortable shares. Like these are shares that are out there for everyone, you know, they're not insider shares. So one of these two numbers, depending on which one you think is correct. And honestly, these Ortex ones of this one, I think it was, I didn't add a bunch of, so maybe that's why the difference of these two is so great, is because I didn't finish adding up. There's probably tons of ones that had under 100K, but I'm just not going to sit by and yeah, so just so everyone knows, and I just want to point this out. If you go to the SEC home, SEC 144 filings, right? You can go here. You can download the zip file. Where is it? Did I pass it? I think I passed it. They do have a zip file that they put out every single day. Let me see if I can find it. I have to use my big screen. All right, here it is. Sorry, hold on. Where are you? Oh, there it is. And I need to go to Bed Bath & Beyond. And screenshot, because it has my face on it. I would dox myself. You guys all know who I am. All right, so we'll do it this way. All right, so right here, this was a real form. It was filled out, but what you'll notice is this is a proposed sale of securities, but it doesn't mean they have to sell all of them. The reason why he is filing this, though, right, because he obviously has a good amount of shares, over 10%. And the position, though, oops, I cut off there. I need to scroll down and show you that part. But he has right now 12,000, almost 11,200. I'll just screenshot it. Sorry. Let me screenshot this second page for you. Okay. This is why. So he doesn't have to sell any of his commons right now. Maybe he might have to trim a couple because he's now like at 11% if he wants to stay under 10%. But if he's fine being over 10%, he doesn't have to sell any of these. But right here, he owns 11,257 BBBY calls at $60. And he also owns another 5,000 at $80. And another at 75, and they're all for the same date, right? So what's he doing? What's Ryan Cohen doing with this? Well, number one, what month is it right now? So these things last for 90 days, right? So right here, when you do this, you get 90 days from when you basically put this thing out, right? So if it begins on 8/16, that would mean that he has 3 months from 8/16 to sell his securities, right? So if you look at, basically, we're coming up on what? The mid part of August. This would bring him into December, right? Is that right? Yeah, or November, right? November, December. And his stuff expires in January. So for him, before theta starts really decaying on these options, which he's not going to want, and obviously the stock's running right now, he wants to be able to sell these call options, which are all out of the money. He doesn't have to sell any of his stock, but he's going to want to sell these options because, number one, they're still very much out of the money. You've already gotten a huge IV spike out of this thing, so you're going to want to unload these things while the IV is high. So, number one, this is not going to kill the squeeze. All this is doing basically is allowing him to basically buy, or transfer all this stuff that was, that's insane. He's going to make a ton of money, like millions of dollars on this. I'd love for him to buy more when he does it. But the whole point of this for him was to play the IV spike, and that's probably why he filed. So obviously they turned it into FUD because literally, I think, one of you guys sent it to me. Let me go to my messages. I think it was Random. I think Random, you were the one that sent it to me, which was they literally misquoted and spread something that was messed up, which is this. So this is market manipulation. Ryan Cohen sells his entire stake in Bed Bath & Beyond. Number one, that's not correct at all. Per the 144 filing, he has filed to sell, right? He has the right to sell during this time, but he didn't say he was going to sell his entire position. Yeah, this is a very, very misleading. And look what time they did this, 3:55. Well, what time did they dump the stock? If we go on the 1 minute chart or the 5 minute chart, when did they do this? That article came out right at this time, right? So they wanted this thing to basically go down for us to all go, oh my God, Ryan Cohen selling his shares, all of his shares, and FUD the spread, and nobody to dispel it. And then tomorrow they'll tank it even more, and then they're going to call it a day while everyone freaks out and sells. I don't care what you guys do. You guys do whatever you want with your money. For me, I'm going to sell my puts in the morning when they hammer this thing down, and I'm just going to buy more shares long. And I hope that they push it down as much as possible. Because I want to buy in. Because to me, this is where, when you look at the numbers, you go, oh, wait, these guys are really... Yeah, I don't know how low it's going to go. I have no bearing on that. I got nothing. But what I can tell you is, if we were to do this or even half of that, let's say there's an additional 40 million shares out there, right? Oops. 1, 2, 1. Oh, you know what the problem is? I have the... There we go. I mean, you've already got 37 million shares shorted. You have an additional retail doing this, and we're not even touching the options chains, guys. We're not even touching the options chains, which have so much open interest that's in the money right now. It may not squeeze this week. It might take a week or two to really for it to fully play out. But I mean, this to me is showing you that these shorts and these market makers are in trouble, and they're doing everything in their power to keep this stock down. And rightfully so, because this can basically like cause margin calls, and this thing could, this could be a catalyst to set off a bunch of different short positions having to close their, short positions, which I'm sure most people in here would be totally fine with. But wanted to throw that out there. Yeah, so there's a high amount of open interest in the money, but that only matters. Zero Hedge, honestly, I'm pretty sure they have connections in Wall Street, so. Not only that, but remember, we'll go back to the daily chart. Here's the thing, right? So, like, we look at the numbers, we know what they are. It doesn't mean that the stock's not just going to get hammered down and retail's going to bail. Like, that's the biggest thing. Like, because the majority, like, listen, there's like 40 of you guys listening to this thing. Yeah, 49. There's 49 of you guys listening to this right now. I am not making a big impact. Nobody knows who I am. Like, most people are not going to see this video and go, oh, that's a pretty good, and here's the thing. Like, I would love to post on Wall Street Bets. They banned me because I once mentioned a small cap ticker. They banned me permanently. So I can't even post on there. So I guess I could write a DD, and then maybe if, people were to, share it on there. But, like, yeah. And only 18 likes. Oh, yeah. If you could hit the like button, that'd be great. And then if you're new, if you want to subscribe, that'd be awesome as well. But I'll just kind of explain to you my thought process, which is they're going to make this look as bad as possible because that's what they do. You short and distort. It doesn't matter if you're breaking rules because literally you're on, like, they're in the middle of a gamma squeeze. Like, if this keeps going, it's going to turn really, really ugly. Like, really, really quick for them because they're going to have people start margin calling, and then that puts pressure on the bigger guys, and next thing you know, whoosh. Okay. Yeah, they won't let ATER be on Wall Street Bets, and that's how I got banned. The Muffin Man. Sorry so late. Was that on the water? Oh, nice. Were you sailing? What's up, Hustle? All right. Drink, Muffin Man. I'll play your game. I'll have a swig. All right. So, like I said, I'm just a guy showing you guys the float and why these guys are in more trouble than it looks like. Yeah, the one that lives on Drury Lane. Okay. Where was I? I had some charts up and I had some stuff. I get so many of these open tabs. Where is my spreadsheet? There it is. Nope, that's not it. Where's the spreadsheet? Come on. There, here we go. Okay. Yeah, so basically either way you slice it, you're looking at a ton of problems for them because there's not a ton of shares, right? So, like, if retail even bought like an extra 20 million shares, and really they only had 15, like, or not 15, but like roughly 6 million shares that were they're failing to deliver 15 million shares against like 20 million. Like, these things get like what do you do at that point as a brokerage? You have to just hope that you get everyone to sell. How do you get people to sell? You either slam the price down as hard as you can to shake out those people that don't understand this stuff, or you have to run the price up enough where people are like, oh, you know what? I made a lot of money. I'm getting out. Like, those are the only ways you can get retail to sell at this point, unless you can scare them. So, there it is. Could you do the Fibonacci sequence theoretically? I mean, I can, but let me just do this real quick. Let's pull up real quick. All right, so oh, you know what? I messed it up. That's my fault. Here we go. So Fibonacci levels are right now set up for 32.8. Here, I can bring this over. So your 32 is 1422, 50% is 1726, and 61% is 2030. So then obviously you can go the other way. You can see how high it can go on the other side, which is I saw stuff that was like I let me pull it up. I saw numbers that I was like, that's ridiculous. But here's the thing. Your numbers are never going to get that high unless you truly squeeze. And they are going to fight this tooth and nail to not have that happen. All right. Let me do this. Because I'll point this out, and we've dealt with this area before, and I'm going to put it up on here. So here, hoping that's roughly where we are. Got to put a price line. All right. See here, got close to the, and here it touched it and got pushed down, right? So if I'm able to go from, where is it? There you go, for that matchup roughly to what we saw on the, what do we see again? It was 1422. Is that on here? Scroll out, hold on. After hours volume for BBBY was 21 million. Was that right? If they got ammo, they have infinite ammo, to be honest with you. The truth is they have infinite ammo at this point. And the reason why is because they're already screwed. So, like, why not cheat to just try to, like, take the fines, right? Like, for them, it's literally better for them to take the fines and shake every single part you can. Shake during the day, shake at night, shake in the morning, pre-market. Like, if they can get people out of their positions, they're going to try to do it. Right? They need, because here's how this works, and I'll show you something that I think is super important, which is if you look at the volume, right? So this was the biggest day of volume, right? Tons of in, tons out. Retail's already blown their load for the most part. Why do I say that? Because retail is pretty much maxed out. And this is what happens on every single time. These guys have infinite money to basically leverage and use, right? So what happens is once retail goes in on this thing, they don't have the sustained buying power anymore because they need a new, fresh, set of people. Unless retail starts doing this the right way, which is buying deep in the money calls that they're not going to be able to get back to, then they would have to hedge. But the problem is retail doesn't know how to do this stuff, right? And retail goes, well, why am I going to buy something deep in the money when I can buy something that's cheaper and get 4 or 5, options out of the money, and make other people do it for me. So like that's how retail thinks. The problem is if you don't have constant pressure being placed on the downward part, they've already hedged this stuff and now they're going to try to push this stuff back. And they're going to do it by making puts really cheap and then sliding the stock down. And I'll show you how they do this. All right, so let me pull up the options chain real quick on this so you can see. It's going to take me a second. I mean, this thing's going absolutely berserk. Oh, you know what? They even added a bunch of, they added new options chains. That's... I hate it when they do this. They opened up the 50 cents ones. Hold on, my son. Okay, I think we're okay so far. I don't know if you guys heard him, but my son was waking up. Okay, so I need a screenshot, then bring it over. Give me a second. Let me do that. He's still stirring. So my son's waking up. Hopefully I didn't wake him up. So these guys added an extra layer to try to basically mess with the options chains, which is not usually a good sign for retail. These guys did what they did to GameStop. All right, so they're really pulling out the stops right now. Let's see. Okay. Let me do... Oh, he wants mommy, not daddy, so we're okay. All right. I'm going to do this the way I normally do it, just so visually I like to see it a certain way, so bear with me for a second. Okay. We'll do this in green. And, oops, green. Red. Okay. So red is burned, green is in the money for calls, and we'll do, I don't know, what do we do for, we'll do blue for in the money on puts. Because I'll make us sad. Okay, there you go. So this is how you read it. These are your strike prices right here for anyone that's new. This is stuff that's in the money right now. And you can't assume all of these things are bullish, but in this case, let's assume 70% of these things are, basically are pretty bullish, because that's the one thing retail really knows how to do is buy naked calls, meaning that they don't hedge to the other side. So, wait, what's going on? I think he heard all the BBBY talk and got excited. Yeah, I don't like them opening the 50-cent stuff on the further out options chains, but I mean, that's what they did. So it's open and it's there. You can't change that now. So that's not exactly right hustle. So basically, what they did was for him to basically sell any of his options, he had to file a 144 form. So what ends up happening on that means that for him to sell any of his share positions or any of his options, he has to fill out that form. So that's always going to happen no matter what because he owned more than 10% of the stock. Yeah, I think you missed this part of the thing, but I've already covered that. Here it is. So he has 7.78 million common stock. He also has, though, close to 11,000 calls at 60. He also has an additional 5,000 calls at 80, and he has another 444 at 75. They're all for January. So for them to get rid of those, his theta is going to start eating his options up. So he's been waiting for this thing to pop probably for a while. But now that it's actually here, he needs to get rid of these call options before theta actually eats into him. So what he's going to do is he'll probably be able to sell his calls first, because he was playing this always for an IV spike. He knew this. You can tell. You don't buy $80 call options unless you know that this thing's going to spike at some point. So they're not that long dated. They're literally 4 months away. So you're talking about him filing this because he has 90 days to sell these things once he filed this thing. So if you kind of do the math on this, he needed to file it soon no matter what just to sell these things. So this is, to me, is not like FUD or anything. This is the actual reason why he's doing it. And he's made a ton of money on this IV spike. So that's what's going to be. He bought all these things to play the IV spike. So he might even keep his shares and just profit off this, or maybe trims a little bit of his shares and then keeps the or sells off all the options and keeps the majority of the cash. Or he can do a lot of different things. But his intent is not to dump all 9 million shares. In fact, he doesn't have 9 million shares. He has. I take that back. He has an open purchase transaction for that, right? Yeah, open purchase, right? So here's the potential sale up to 7.7 is what this says. So this filing represents the potential sale of 7.7 million common stock. And then in addition to that, he has all these call options. So it's not 9.5. Well, yeah, he needed to unlock those anyway. Just to sell his options, he needed to file that form. So it doesn't need to be And we've showed kind of the float where it goes, but you guys remember we said hypothetically if we even had 30 or 40,000 or 30 or 40 million shares, right, that were bought by the public. He can't sell his calls until 90 days. No, he can sell instantly. He could sell tomorrow if he wants to. As soon as he files that, he's eligible to sell. That's how it works. But nobody said that he's going to sell tomorrow. But that's what everyone's trying to convince everyone is that he's instantly selling the entire position tomorrow, and he may wait until the stock gets pushed back up. But he has the ability to now. He couldn't sell before. Until he filed that form, he could not sell those shares or those options. Because when calls are different than shares. But they were grouped in there, right? Because if you own 10% or more of the company, you have different rules that you have to go by. I mean, technically, if he converted those, I mean, obviously he wouldn't do that unless the stock price was like 100 and something. Exactly. But yeah, he can sell his calls immediately tomorrow if he wants to. After that filing went through, he's able to do it. But if he wants to, if he wants to wait a couple days, he can do that. If he wants to wait 90 days, he can do that. If he wants to sell, at market open, he can do that as well. We don't know what he's going to do, but my guess would be the reason why he did it now was because he wants to get prepped because the IV is high, and he mainly was playing, I think, those call options for an IV spike, and he'll make millions and millions of dollars on that. I don't know what he paid. I don't know what his cost average is on those, but I mean, now it would be a huge amount of money. So, sorry. What time is it? That's midnight. That's why. Yeah, I mean, I think we covered that a bit. I brought up the picture of that Random sent me, which is literally market manipulation. It said that he already intended to file or do the entire position, and that was not true. Here it is. Yeah, like Ryan Cohen sells his entire stake in Bed Bath & Beyond. That was the headline. Like, that's insane. That's not good reporting. You did that on purpose. They'll issue a retraction and nobody will read it. No, he doesn't have to sell his shares within 90 days. But, I mean, if you know about options, the closer it gets to your date of expiry, which his is in January, the more theta decay you're dealing with. So, like, literally, it would make sense for him to, like, sell his stuff now, especially with the IV being so high, and for him not to, like, honestly, I'd sell it now. If I was up that much, I would absolutely sell those. Like, I wouldn't buy anything that deep out of the money, personally. Like, for him, that was ballsy because, like, you don't know that but he must have known that there was going to be some sort of big, run on this, because you don't buy those unless you know the IV is going to spike and this thing's going to do like a GameStop thing. So that was impressive. That's pretty good trading on his part. All right. It is midnight, guys. I need to get to sleep because I got to go to work tomorrow. But thanks for hanging out. If you enjoyed this, if you're new, we do have a free Discord that you can join, hang out with us. I'll put a link inside the chat. And you guys have a great evening. And I will try to write up some sort of DD on BBBY tomorrow, just so people at least have it. I know somebody there had asked me to do it, so I said I would do that for you guys. All right, so here you go. Yeah, good luck sleeping. Say he sells them, then does more. Wait, what? Say he sells them, then does more with what he gained closer to expiration. Yeah, I mean, he could buy shares with that money that he made. I mean, there's lots of things he can do. So, but I'm just pointing out, we talked about, okay, if there's a ton of, like, if these get converted over to shares, next week's going to be ugly for the market maker. Even if they push it down, they basically have to push it down below 12. But they still would owe a ton of shares down here. Like, yeah. So we'll talk about it more tomorrow, but I just wanted to cover that. But let me go ahead and sign off, and you guys have a wonderful evening. Night.